In the 5th book of his histories, Herodotus recounts a tale passed down by Egyptian priests and travellers, one that, even by the standards of his wide-ranging narrative, carries the quality of a half-buried legend. Around the year 525 BCE, King Cambyses II of Persia, recently victorious over Egypt and eager to assert his dominance further, sent an army of 50,000 men into the western desert with a singular purpose: to destroy the oracle of Amun at Siwa, a distant outpost of religious authority that had refused to recognize Persian sovereignty. The army marched west from Thebes into the Libyan sands, a force of professional soldiers and support personnel, bearing provisions and water, following guides across a land as treacherous as any battlefield. According to Herodotus, they reached the oasis of Karga without incident. From there they pushed onward, then the desert closed behind them. At some point during the journey between Karga and Siwa, the army vanished. As Herodotus tells it, a powerful southern wind, possibly a khamsin, the hot, dry sandstorm of North Africa, rose with such force that it enveloped the entire column. The wind carried not just dust, but sand heavy enough to bury men, weapons, and animals alike. In the storm's wake, there was no sign of the army. No returning survivors, no bones, no discarded armor, just a vacancy where 50,000 lives had once been recorded. The oracle of Amun, untouched, endured. For centuries, the fate of Cambyses' lost army hovered between historical possibility and myth. Some modern scholars, skeptical of Herodotus's more dramatic accounts, dismiss the story as a cautionary tale, perhaps symbolic, perhaps confused with another military disaster, or even fabricated by Egyptian sources to undermine Persian legitimacy. Others accepted its general plausibility but doubted the scale. A smaller expeditionary force, they argued, might have perished in the desert, its memory amplified by time and oral tradition. Still others believed the army had never reached the desert at all, that it had been ambushed or absorbed into some rebellion closer to the Nile. Yet the geography supports Herodotus's version in part. The journey from Thebes to Siwa traverses one of the harshest environments in North Africa, a vast rocky plateau interspersed with shifting dunes and isolated oases. The route would have required not only extensive provisioning, but precise navigation between water sources, many of which were seasonal or dependent on shallow wells. Even a brief miscalculation or the loss of guides could have doomed a column of soldiers. A khamsin storm, capable of stripping flesh and burying caravans, could have rendered any trace of the army nearly impossible to recover. In the modern era, explorers and archaeologists began to take the story seriously. In the early 20th century, desert travelers reported finding old weapons and bones near the dunes southwest of Siwa, but none could be definitively linked to a Persian army. In the 1980s and 1990s, Italian researchers retraced potential routes, uncovering fragments of bronze and stone, but again, nothing conclusive. In 2009, two brothers, amateur archaeologists working in the desert near the Gilf Kabir Plateau, claimed to have found arrowheads, fragments of weapons, and human remains in an area they argued matched Herodotus's account. Their findings received attention but not verification. Critics noted the absence of a formal dig and the lack of clear stratigraphy. The desert once again refused to confirm or deny. The absence of definitive evidence does not erase the possibility. The Western Desert is vast, and many of its regions remain unstudied or inaccessible. Shifting dunes can cover objects quickly, while harsh conditions discourage sustained fieldwork. Satellite imaging has revealed ancient caravan routes and buried structures elsewhere in Egypt and Libya, but a buried army, if it lies beneath sand and stone, may remain invisible until the desert recedes or technology improves. Yet other theories persist. Some suggest the army was not lost to nature, but to man. Cambyses, known for violent outbursts and internal instability, faced revolts in Egypt and Persia during his reign. It is possible that the force he sent west was intercepted by dissident factions or betrayed by its own guides. A massacre by desert raiders, or a slow attrition from mutiny and starvation, could have destroyed the army without a trace. Others wonder whether the entire campaign was a fiction designed to explain why Cambyses failed to bring Siwa under control. If the expedition never departed or never reached the open desert, the sandstorm becomes not a meteorological event, but a metaphor for royal overreach. Still, the story endures. The Oracle of Amun, consulted centuries later by Alexander the Great, remained untouched during Cambyses' time. It was said to possess divine protection, and the disappearance of an invading army only confirmed its power in the eyes of contemporaries. Herodotus, careful to qualify that he merely reported what he had been told, recorded the story with the same tone he applied to distant marvels, half believed, half doubted, but preserved nonetheless. Today, the Libyan Desert remains silent on the matter. No mass grave has surfaced, no camp, no cache of weapons, no bleached shields rising from the dunes. The soldiers of Cambyses II, if they ever crossed into the sands, left nothing that time and sand did not claim. The road to Siwa is still desolate, the oracle remains, and the army lost or imagined has passed into the uncertain space between history and the stories history cannot fully confirm.